Hey, what's good, my amazing friends? Welcome to The Remedy. If you are tuning in on Facebook, hello. If you are on YouTube, Rumble, any of our platforms, thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, if you would help me out, if you would hit a one in the comment section, if you are here, I see that we already have followers starting to tune in. Welcome, you guys. I'm so excited. I know that you are excited for our guest tonight because we have an exciting guest, and I am excited to get into this topic. It's a topic that people know that I have sort of tiptoed around talking about for, well, since 2021, January of 2021. As you know, that it's something that I was there for, and but we've had to be sort of sensitive about, and because that is the the crux of the matter is that just shadow banning and information censoring, and even more so than that, doxing, and then even political prisoners, and justice systems being weaponized. And in this country, that has absolutely happened. And it has absolutely happened to people very, very real. We have had, from friends and family turning their backs on you if you were anywhere part of January 6th, to the media lying about the situation and not telling the truth about what happened that day, to politicians not telling the truth about that day, and the entire world being lied to about what went on during that time, to the point even today, here we are all of these years later, and not even really fully yet knowing exactly what that day fully was. I know what my participation in that day was and what it meant to me and what I was there for, and the people who were there to stand up for truth and justice in this country. But what the underlying was, and maybe we'll know. Hopefully, we'll know in this lifetime. And I feel like the covers really are being pulled back, and the ramifications that came of that day. Our guest today is somebody who felt some very real and very harsh ramifications of being there. And so I want to bring to the stage Brad Bennett. If you haven't heard of Brad Bennett, he is a very real political prisoner of January 6th. He will tell you a bit of his story for those who don't know him. If you do know him, I know that you're excited to be in the platform, and I know that you'll have questions as we're going along and you hear his story. But at any rate, let's bring to the stage Brad. Brad, thank you so much for coming on The Remedy. We're so grateful to have you here and hear your story and hear how the Lord met you in the pit. Thank you so much for being here. And can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I think I heard applause right there. Is that what I really
I
heard?
did. You did.
It's super cool. I've never had that happen on one of these. I've done a number of podcasts since January when I felt like I could kind of start sharing my story safely, like you were referring to there. But yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited. We've been following each other. I guess we're mutual friends. We have mutual friends. We met through mutual friends. And I grew up in Greensboro. So Brad Bennett, like she says, my name. I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina. And normal dude, man, just grew up playing a lot of sports, specifically soccer and basketball, and traveled all over the place with soccer. And then played in high school and was just a normal dude. Got into normal things, got into drinking in high school and that whole thing, but never really caused any kind of troubles. Never was um, super extreme in any direction at all. I mean, not even super patriotic or whatever, just probably like any 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old perhaps. But I was born again when I was a senior in high school, and it just radically changed the course of my life. I mean, total 180. And I just felt God and the Holy Spirit come in and just do a great deep work. And so I actually graduated, launched a little bookshop with a business partner. So we were carrying like Christian music and all kinds of things like that, and Bibles and the rest of it. So that was really neat. It was a great, I guess, phase or season of my life. Let me make sure my notifications are going to be. There we go. People probably trying to call me and stuff. And so what happened was I had the opportunity to go on my first mission trip. I had gone out of the country a couple of times in high school with my family, and they were just on business. We were able to take homework with us and stuff. So then a mission trip popped up with the local Baptist church to Honduras, and that was I was really young, and that was I think the summer of '99 in May. And so we went for maybe 10 days, and I was rocked, man. Like just seeing like what how people live overseas and what it was like down there. And Honduras is pretty much a pretty destitute type of place. A lot of struggle, a lot of abject poverty. But I was blown away. I was humbled. I was grateful for how I grew up. I was just, I guess it broke my heart, honestly, but in a really cool way. Seeing how hospitable and gracious the people were and whatnot. So that happened the next year. I went back again in May, did another week, and then that fall had a invitation to go and stay down there for a few months. And so I taught Bible school for like middle school and high schoolers, played soccer, traveled, made friends, and I was there for months, and it was really cool. Got really sick because that's the beginning of learning what Montezuma's revenge, except not in Mexico, but in Honduras. And so that kind of kicked off, Sarah, like years and years and years, a decade or two of just a lot of missions, a lot of humanitarian, a lot of feeding, a lot of evangelism. Ended up later getting to do basically contract work where I was protecting missionaries and refugees. And so I'm not in one of the branches, but I grew up around a lot of these guys and girls, mainly guys that were. And so I started to go to Israel, started to go to Africa and do contract work, which is extremely dangerous. And I saw amazing things, dangerous things, good things. I saw God's hand. I saw miracles happen and the like. And so a lot of that kind of led to what tonight, some of the stuff we can unpack and answer. And I'm happy to give details and answer questions. And I promise you I'll be truthful because that's the only way I was raised. The only way that there is tell the truth, like you were talking about. In 2020, kind of fast forwarding a little bit after like being in business, doing a lot of travels, I had slowed down with the travel. And in 2020, I started to post on Facebook in March. I think it was March 31st or March 30th. And I started just walking around doing videos. And I'm not the guy, even though I'm extroverted, I'm a connector. I'm not the guy that likes to hold a device and hold it in front of me and walk around. But something told me to just start sharing my perspective, and it resonated with so many people. I was really blown away. It was like a couple thousand, and then 8,000, then 10,000, and more and more. And I basically was just saying that this pandemic was planned, and it's not good. And lockdowns are tyranny, which they are, of course. And I started sharing some things that I knew about that were going on behind the scenes, good and bad. Rescuing children, military operations, things that Trump at the time was doing, and stuff like that. And then I just shared my perspective that God wins and that this whole thing is really something that's going to change the world forever. And so, because of my, I guess, stances and beliefs, I certainly got on the radar at some point during that year. But that spring, I ended up meeting this girl actually that's not too far from you in Hill Country, Texas. And so we ended up ringing when I've got all the notifications off. That's really strange to me. Um, I'm so sorry about that. That's so frustrating.
Okay, don't worry
Phone's
about
been
it.
busy today. So I ended up getting closer with this girl. We start building a friendship. We decide we're going to visit one another. So this is summer, fall of 2020, the beginning of the pandemic. Ended up moving to Texas, and that's kind of what leads into sort of how this went down. I got a rent house down the street from her, not too far from your area, and I love your city, by the way, your whole area. I love Fredericksburg. I love Bernie. I love all those areas around Dripping Springs near Austin. Uvalde, the rivers, the Guadalupe, all that stuff is just incredible. Had the most amazing time, amazing hunting, incredible patriot friends and pastor and church. And I miss Texas a whole lot. Can you tell I'm kind of like half Texan over here in North Carolina? And so
It's a
I,
great place to live. It's the best
it,
place we've ever lived.
it's so awesome, man. Wow, what a great experience. I hated to leave it, but I'll explain that. But So come December, we ended up traveling home for 2 or 3 weeks, and she had her folks in Florida, her mother and some of her family in Florida, and mine here in North Carolina near Charlotte and Greensboro. So we traveled back here, we visited family, and then we heard about at some point in December the opportunity to go up to the Capitol and hear the president speak. And I had not been there in, gosh, maybe easily 17, 18 years with another group of friends back then to see the museums and the monuments and stuff back then. So I thought, well, this will be a great opportunity. We'll get to see a little bit of that, hopefully, and hear him speak. And I know there's other patriots going up there and supporters and whatnot. So that was kind of how it kicked off. We drove in a car. We rode with another guy. I'll maybe circle back on him in a little bit. And we drove up the night before on the 5th. Come to find out there was all kinds of stages, all kinds of events and side shows with different, influencers and patriot voices. I didn't go to any of those. I just stayed in, and something cool happened. I was kind of networking with a bunch of other people there. It's awesome to be able to share about this now at this point before there was all kinds of questions that people were trying to ask me and trying to get me to reveal folks. And I don't even know all the names, honestly, but between me posting and other people posting, there was, I guess you'd say a following, and we kind of all networked together, and it ends up being a handful, maybe a dozen or two people that were in this particular hotel outside the city, I think in Virginia. And we had a meeting on the night before, and it was a prayer meeting. It was almost like a patriot meeting. It was a security meeting, and we just talked about what God's doing in our nation and why we're even here, and how we have a chance to make our voices heard the next day in mass, just being tons and tons of folks. We knew that the election was stolen. I think everybody in there probably knew that and agreed. It was very obvious to me mathematically, and I was putting a lot of time in studying these kinds of things with all the voter fraud and dead people on the rolls and illegals voting and ballots being brought in the middle of the night. And I was pretty beside myself since November watching what had happened with the election, because you go to bed and he was way up, and you wake up and realize that all these ballots just magically appeared in the night with pixie dust. And so back to the meeting, we're praying over the next day. We're talking about being safe, don't take weapons. I didn't bring any. I don't know that anybody there even brought any with them, but don't take them, leave them at the hotel, and let's look out for each other and watch each other's backs the next day. And it was just really special. It was a really powerful unity. It was an amazing prayer time. It felt almost timeless and supernatural. And my girlfriend at the time, the Texan, she and I made friends with a guy who's a great brother of mine now. He's a Marine who protected some high level presidents and secretaries of state in the past. We made friends with him that night and ended up kind of spending some time talking with him. And then the next day we spent time with him, and I'll kind of get into that. Do you want me to sort of launch into like the next day and kind of how this went down and sort of lay some of it out?
Yeah, sure. Sure. Yeah,
Awesome, awesome.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so quick sleep, get up pretty early, 6 or 7 or whatever it was, and we start making the walk. I think we parked in a garage or something, made the walk past or to the Marine Memorial, which is near Arlington National Cemetery. That's the Iwo Jima Marine Memorial. So we got photos there. That was awesome. Walking through Arlington, freezing, stinking cold. You remember, like, just crazy cold. And made our way over some bridges.
Yeah, it
And
was so cold. It
wasn't it
was
intense that day? I mean, just
it was so
all
cold.
like it should be snowing 12 inches, but no snow. I don't think was hardly falling, maybe a little, but it sure felt like that. It's almost like when it's cold enough, it might as well be snowing, so it's pretty. So at least you're in a snowstorm.
Well, and
And
anybody
so,
who had been out there, we were all standing out there waiting for Trump to speak. If you wanted a spot, in a good in any good space, you were out there for hours standing in this
oh
freezing
yeah,
cold, bone chilled to the bone. Your joints didn't work. It was freezing cold. Yeah.
no question about it. And there's so many people there before us when we walked up at 7 or 8 or whatever. And so we come to the Washington Monument. There's folks all over the grass. I mean, you can see these monuments. You remember, and like you can think, oh, that could hold 200 people on the grass. No, try like 2,000 or 5,000 on the grass, the lawn or whatever. And then you take a left and you go to the ellipse, which is the yard by the White House, the back side. I don't know if that's called east, west, whatever. I'm not sure, but that was where his stage was set up. And I remember the sound quality wasn't super great. And I was fairly up close. I think I was on the street off to the right corner. And so I just remember it was a little bit hard to understand. It's like the technology was struggling pretty bad that day. Who knows why? But um, listened to his talk. It was pretty typical, like a lot of what he had been saying all over the place, it seemed like. And so I remember at the end, at the wrap up, he said, let's, peacefully walk up there and patriotically protest at the Capitol. And tens of thousands of people started kind of making their way up there. And a lot of folks had already left and started walking up there, apparently. So I'm walking up there at the end of his speech, and I'm, with a bunch of my friends and associates, I guess, that I had, or acquaintances I kind of knew, a little bit from online and stuff. And you start to lose track of people a little bit over time throughout the day. But we made our way up there. I remember seeing like CCP China literature with Chinese people handing it out. I mean, I thought that was amazing, like that they're warning us about the ills of communist tyranny. And then Latinos for Trump and blacks for Trump and women for Trump and just who knows what else. I can't even remember now.
Yeah, everybody was there. I mean, there was, Japanese signs there. And I mean, that was one thing that stood out. I have a bunch of pictures of it, of all these different groups that everybody was there. And, people, they love to paint this picture that somehow it's just these white nationalists that love Trump. But at the rally at January 6th, I mean, it was all these groups. And like you said, these people with literally these signs saying, Trump, save us from the CCP,
Yes,
and
yes.
please save us, help us. And I mean, but groups from, I mean, there was Korean flags there. And I mean, I've
Oh yeah, there's
photographs
a
of
lot
all
of
of this.
those. A lot of
Yeah,
Koreans.
a lot. It was, I mean, it was like, totally an international, it was an international
Support.
affair. Yeah.
It was. It was.
International. It was incredible.
I was
Yeah,
taken aback
totally.
by that. I really was, because you only know what you know from your area and who you perceive is in the movement, who's in Make America Great Again, or who's a quote Trump supporter or whatever.
Right.
You think of it based on your view of the world and what you have eyes to see where you're at. So I think it's good to go to things, this being one of them, obviously, and many other things where your horizons are expanded. I was blown away by that, and folks playing guitars in the yards or on the sidewalk or wherever, people singing praise, people praying, people walking together waving flags. I mean, no one's beating anyone up, no one's burnt something down, no one's doing any of that at this point. I know later on a tiny sliver of people did some ridiculously dumb stuff, but now we have even more information about who some of those folks actually were, so we'll get into that
Right.
too if you want. But because you, no holds barred, right? I mean, you want me to answer whatever we got today, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's go. I didn't
Okay.
break out, my pictures, but I guess, I mean, hey, if it's come out in national news that, they're saying, Nancy Pelosi and all this stuff, it's like, well, if Trump's in the White House now, I guess we're safe to talk about it. I mean, you would know more than I
I
have.
believe that's the case.
I mean,
I
you
believe that
you've
ship has
yeah.
sailed, or I wouldn't come on here and do that with you. I would have been like, hold up, wait up,
Yeah, wait
for
up.
your sake,
Let's
not for mine. Obviously, I've already come
yeah.
through it and come through
Yeah.
this the fire or the valley. But yeah, I think you're good to go now. That ship has sailed because it was all just a political ploy, and I don't know how that's not obvious to many people unless you're just fully brainwashed by CNN or something. But
And people still are. That's the thing, is that I still have
there are.
people come into my comments or say stuff to me, and I'm just like, you have no idea, dude. Like, people still literally make comments on my page, or make comments, and I'm just about January 6th and how it was the most horrible thing. I'm like, you don't even know Jack, dude. You weren't first of all, you weren't there. I was there. You have no idea. You have no idea what you are talking about.
It's such a
None.
great point.
Zero.
Like you don't have as much credibility to talk if you weren't actually there.
And that was one of, I mean, like, my eyes, I was already awake, but my eyes were so opened that day. I remember so clearly one of the things that Trump said that day was, he said, I can't remember, 97% or some huge number, some 90 something percent of Republicans are dirtier. He was saying that basically everyone in Washington is dirty. And he was saying, I know who they are, but let's see after today if you know who they are.
Yes,
And
exactly.
and that sticks in my mind, because when we went back to our hotel room after we had been at the Capitol, and our phones went off, because all of our phones went off. Get back to the Capitol. I mean, get back to your hotel rooms, because there was a curfew that went off. I'll let you get back to your story, because there's a lot that
It's all
went
right.
on before our phones blew up, and get back to your hotel room. But
Oh,
when
it's
that went
true.
off, Yeah. So before we all had to get back to our hotel rooms because a curfew went off, as we were walking by, uh, television cameras were reporting these horrible things had gone on in this insurrection. And I'm walking by these cameras and I literally stepped up to a USA Today camera and I said, "You are lying." And I looked into the camera. I said, "They're lying to you. That did not happen. Those things that they're telling you did not happen. They are making this up. They're lying to you." I said that to the camera and
Heck
they're like,
yeah.
"Pack it up, roll it up." No, no. And they like moved to a different area. They were lying to the people and they were calling it an insurrection and all this stuff. And so when we got back to our hotel room, my husband flipped on the news because our phones were ringing, ringing, ringing. Our moms were calling us, "Are you guys alive? Well,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
horrible." And we're like, "Yes, we are alive. It was totally peaceful. What are you talking about? No, what they're telling you on the news is a lie." And when we flipped on the news, we saw whoop, 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 one by one, these politicians, people that we trusted. Dan Crenshaw is one of them, who I thought was a good guy. And I'm going to call him out right here.
Yep.
And the minute he came on, Eye Patch McCain came on and he immediately was saying the narrative, what I call the narrative. And I went,
Yep.
"He's dirty. Eric, that guy's dirty.
Yep.
He's dirty as the day is long." And then another one came up, narrative, and I was like, "He's dirty, he's dirty." And just like Trump said, "I know who they are, but after today, let's see if you know who they are." And I was like, "He's dirty, he's dirty, he's dirty, she's dirty, whatever," because it was the narrative. And it was like, because they're
Exactly.
saying the narrative, I knew who they were. And it was because of this narrative that they were parroting. And it had become totally clear for from the people who were there. And then fake this fake lie. It was this lie from the pit of hell that they were spouting
Exactly.
as truth. And it was just, anyway, go ahead. Go ahead,
You're
Brad.
so right.
But
I mean, it was a talking point that was already likely prepackaged and delivered to some of the folks. Hey, this is what we're going to use this day for.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I didn't have the eyes to pick up on all that. And later on, maybe I can share how when people ask me, "Oh, if you could go back, I bet you regret it or whatever," and you would. And I'm like, I can't say that. I don't agree with that. Like, there's something divine about all of this. As easy as it would be to say, "Oh yeah, I definitely would spare myself from what I went through," which I'm going to share some of. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
insane. It was hell. But
What you went through was incredibly heavy. And to those who are watching, you're going to hear Brad's story in a minute. What happened to us diverge. It went in a different direction. And so we have a different story where that is concerned. And Brad's story is incredibly heavy. And so he's going to share that here in just a few minutes. But
it is. It
yeah,
really is. And it's loaded with stuff that's shocking, but it's also at every shock there's God showing up and the Holy Spirit radically saving my life. There's miracles that we can talk about. And I haven't
which
even
is what this show's all about. The
let's
remedy is
go.
Jesus, and
It
that is what
is.
we want to hear.
It
Is
is. I mean,
even
he's
in
the
the
only
pit,
answer to all this.
yeah, even in the pit of hell, that is where
Yes.
Jesus shows up. In the valley
Yes.
of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because you are
Yes.
with me. Yeah,
He's not scared to go there and snatch us up or to keep smoke off of the what was it, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He kept the
right,
smoke of the smell off of them. And it's just incredible,
right.
right? And
He's the
I
fourth. He's the fourth man in the fire.
yes, yes. And I think for all intents and purposes, the smoke was kept off of me, even though it wouldn't at all seem like that in the moment. And he's even taken away, I don't want to get ahead of myself and spoil it, but he's even taking away in the last 4 years the memory remnants, PTSD, trauma, the feelings of what it was like. It's like something that you did when you were 8. Say you went to the beach when you were 8. It's probably a little bit of a blurry memory. Maybe other people are different than me and they know every single vivid detail. I'm not sure, but it's kind of faded, and that's a good memory. But this one was a bad one, obviously, and he has been removing that systematically, consistently from me, feeling and reliving that. Because at first I was struggling with reliving it. So yeah, we're walking up. I'll kind of fast forward here a little bit just to not take this into 3 or 4 hours, but we walk up to the building. At this point, I'm hanging out with the guy that I rode with up there, the girl that I'm seeing, and then the new friend, the Marine that we met. So there's really four of us that are primarily kind of sticking together. And I'm aware of other friends of mine, and they're kind of two over there, five over there, whatever. And so we're at the front lines, baby. Like we're right there. I mean, easily 30 to 40 feet from the front line of the police. And I will tell you this, as sure as God is alive, that I didn't see the people inciting violence first. I saw the police inciting it first. You know, the worst thing I think I saw for a long time, like a while, that morning or afternoon now at that point, was maybe somebody throw a half drunk water bottle or something. I didn't lose you, did I?
No, we're right
Okay.
here. I
Okay, awesome. Awesome. I saw the screen change. And so but I just started noticing they're using concussives, they're using flashbangs now, they're shooting paintballs, rubber bullets, so forth. Non-lethal rounds essentially. And I start noticing odd anomalies of how they're behaving and hurrying around. And again, coming up there weren't anything like barriers or racks or walls or signs or anything saying you can't be in this area by the Capitol. It's the people's building. It's a public domain. It's a public building. It's like you can't be on a sidewalk with me. Of course you can. It's a public domain. And so um, they tried to say that there were all these barriers and whatnot. I saw a couple of little orange like construction nets that would stop the flow of water. You know, when you're trying to plant new grass seed on a highway when you're building it, there's a few of those, and they weren't even all connected. It was just so strange. But I don't know if that was their, hey, that was your sign to stay off the grass or something. But at this point, you've got hundreds of thousands of people kind of approaching the Capitol building on the west side where I was, which is the side you come up to when you're leaving the White House essentially. Supreme Court will be on the rear, the opposite the back. So I'm watching the people, being cited by the police, and then a couple of people, one guy got up on the scaffolding or something, they got him down. Well, at some point, and we're talking over an hour, I don't remember the exact amount of minutes, but hour 10, hour 20, I was outdoors before going in the building. And that's when they opened the doors. The police were standing by letting everybody in. I never walked up at a point where there's anybody breaking anything. I never saw anybody like hurt anyone or mess up or damage, the windows or the doors or anything like that. So we walk in casually. I mean, some people are thanking the police, thank you for your service, that kind of thing. Because, you got a lot of that in the MAGA movement or whatever with Patriots. And so we go in the building and we walk around and we end up on the Senate floor, like a door that opens up to the Senate floor. We're looking down in it. We're in the balcony, so we never were actually on it. But so you got the blue carpet room in there and tons of people everywhere. I don't remember if Jake Chansley, the Q shaman, was in there at that moment. Really can't recall, but he had been in that room for sure and prayed and he was strolling around slow as can be. I mean, never, I don't think he ever tore up anything. And I'm drawing all this out because I'm aware that folks, there's a small percentage, and this is the case in a lot of things, right? That act sideways, act ridiculous, act stupid, and do things they shouldn't be doing that's dishonorable. But I didn't appreciate at all how they blanketed the rest of us, like 1,800 of us, I think it ended up being, with them as though we're all the same. We're not all the same. I didn't
yeah.
touch anything. I didn't mess. You didn't. The people I was with didn't. The people you were with didn't. That's just not what we were there to do. And
Right. Even outside. And now we know that there were feds that were inciting violence and that has come out as fact. Kash Patel, Director Kash Patel has come out and cited that as fact. But that there were outside. So my husband and I were outside the Capitol on the steps, but we never actually went inside the Capitol, which maybe was our saving grace of not going to jail.
might
But
be.
um, the there was a huge window right by the door, and there was somebody who was picking up the guardrails and picking up. There were chairs, and they were trying to break the window. And the people outside, the patriots, they did not want any violence, and they were telling this guy that was trying to break the window and trying to incite violence. And there were people like, "Hey, knock it off," to this guy. And they said, if he tries that one more time, we're going to throw him off the precipice, because this guy kept
Serious.
trying to break the window. And they're like,
Serious.
that is not what we're here for. We are not here for violence. We
Exactly.
are here to peacefully let our voice be known. And this guy kept trying to break the window. Now we know that there were over 200 feds there that were trying to get people riled up to incite violence. And that was
Exactly.
not what patriots were there for. And so actually the people that were around us, and these were big guys, um, including my husband, went over and they grabbed this man and they pulled him back and they threw threw him down the steps. And they said, if you come back up here, we're going to throw you all the way off of the precipice. And the guy never
Yeah.
came. The guy never came back. And so now we know that that guy was more than likely a Fed who was there to try and incite violence, but there was no violence that was happening outside of the Capitol. There was nobody was trying to break windows. No one was trying to break doors. No one was doing anything to hurt Capitol police officers. All of that stuff was a lie. That was by media and all of that stuff. That was not true. In fact, they were stopping it from happening by the feds that were there trying to incite it. So anyway, so
Well,
yeah, you're
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Number one, you're almost perfectly describing that really well known, well distributed video where he like pushes the Patriot and he's like, why are you doing that? And the video was clear that the assailant's actually the undercover guy dressed, in my opinion, as one of us who's not. It's like you're perfectly describing the exact guy, the exact same video. And number
Right.
two, I think the reason why there weren't arrests that day, by the way, is so that all the FBI guys could go home, not get caught up in it, so they get in trouble, and then they go out and systematically go arrest other people who weren't informants, weren't FBI, weren't provocateurs, aka just the people who can't defend themselves. I
Man, we
think
got a
that's.
lot of questions coming in. Okay, so let's let's get
Let's answer
to
a few. Let me pause, like kind of
okay.
pause with my thoughts and answer a
So
few.
will the feds ever be held accountable? That's a question coming in. We have people saying, hey, Brad. Hey, Sarah. So hello to those who are watching. We have a bunch of people who are logged on. We have a bunch of questions coming in from Rumble. You know, we're having a glitch with Facebook. I guess we have a ton of questions that are coming in and on Facebook, but for some reason, your questions are not coming through the platform. So I'm sorry if you are asking them through our Facebook, but if you are on Rumble and YouTube, they are coming through. Will the feds ever be held accountable? That is a question that is coming through. What do you think, Brad? Do you think that they ever will be?
I don't think that there's a perfect answer. I don't think we know that answer. I don't know that the president now knows that answer, but I do know that the wheels of justice turn, the cogs of justice turn very, very slowly. I saw that from the inside and whatnot, and we're already 10, 11 months in, and there's not been really trouble or arrests. And I think that's ticking off a lot of patriots or whatever. I'm taking a different approach than anger, being ticked off, and I'm just watching and praying and letting this thing kind of play out. And I don't mean that in a passive way at all. That's just the posture the Holy Spirit's got me in. But
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I don't think all the 274 that they've already at least admitted minimum that were there are going to fully all see justice. I don't know that my judge Boasberg and all the other judges, Barrel, and there's tons of them that had all these cases will be fully brought to justice. I am very hopeful and I'm asking God that that would happen. And this is going to sound crazy what I'm about to say, but I believe it absolutely with all my heart. Number one, I want them to have earthly punishment, and I believe that's treason. And I believe they should be treated. I don't think I have to use the words, but to the maximum for what treason is. I take treason very, very seriously. Whether you're harboring illegals or going with false narratives like this, you're jailing patriots, almost killing us in jail. Some of them did die, actually. I just obviously didn't, and I made it. So I take that really, really, really seriously. Secondly, I hope that they hear the gospel and have the chance at salvation and can get into heaven. But both things can be true simultaneously. You can pay a dear price here for what you did, but hopefully their souls are saved. Because I don't want to sit here and go, I hope they burn in hell. You know, even though my flesh does want to say that about Hillary Barak and Boasberg and all the rest of them, but I don't think so. I don't think a lot of these folks will ever see what we call full justice from this unless Pam and Cash and Trump and company and everybody really are thorough as can be and really want to go after every single person who played a role. And I think they kind of know who the people are that played a role. Maybe they're still kind of working on some of that within the FBI in the ranks, but we know all the big players that, I mean, I'm naming a lot of them just now that we know for sure. Nancy being one of the biggest ones. Nancy, the corrupt judges, Cheney, Benny Thompson, the fake J6 committee, that whole crowd. So
I mean, do you think Nancy really? I mean, I obviously she had something to do with it, but do you think that she really had? I mean, I feel like she had something to. I mean, she obviously signed the papers and things like that, but I feel like there's someone above her that was ordering her to do what she did. I mean, she's some. I mean, I mean, to me, this is my opinion, Sarah. She seems like a drunk old lady, like she
Right,
doesn't
right,
seem like some kind of mastermind who would pull all this off, right? She seems like, a lady who is a drunk who does insider trading to get rich by herself,
right, right.
not some mastermind who would pull all this off. There's something else bigger, and she was just someone who was willing to play ball. That's what I think. There's
I
something
think that's
bigger.
right. I think
Yeah,
that's right.
something
There are
much
people
bigger.
bigger, and I think she played a role. She's a character just like a lot of other ones. They're minions, I guess you could
Right.
call them. That they play their role with the position and power and access they have, and she certainly did that. I mean, she's on video repeatedly in various settings leading up to it and after, saying that, of course we did this, and we're
I
covering it
mean,
up essentially.
she's fully. I mean, she's guilt in my opinion. In my opinion, uh, in the court of law of my heart, she's guilty. I mean, for fully, but I don't think that she's the mastermind behind this. I think
Right, right.
there's someone who masterminded. We have another question here, like, will J Sixers ever be vindicated? And Brad, what would that look like to you as will uh, somebody who, you mean, you went through hell, man.
I've got three answers. Number one, God's already vindicated me. So partially tied to Trump's pardon, which is answer number two. God has and is doing a process, a great work inside my heart to heal me from the pain and the trauma and the nightmares and the central nervous system damage and all that. And spiritually speaking is really what I'm answering when I say he's already vindicated me, because I'm innocent in his eyes of doing anything that day. I didn't dishonor anyone. I didn't even trespassing. People argued legally, oh, well, really all you have here, like even the attorney I had at one time, he was an attorney for Jake Chansley, the Q shaman, and myself and others. He was like, all that's really here is a trespassing. And even that technically on paper might be how it reads, but I did nothing in the eyes of heaven or the court of heaven that would dishonor anyone that day. And I'm not trying to sound like goody two shoes at all. I've failed miserably in life and missed the mark. I'm a sinner saved by grace for sure. But that was a day of I was on the right side of history that day. But A, he's already vindicated me. B, I've already been pardoned. So this winter, last January in the winter, that happened. So on paper, it's all been taken care of, exonerated, fully wiped out. Never went to trial. Never had a full court case or jury trial. But the third answer is a lot of other J6ers that I watch and socialize with online or have been to live meetups with and speaking engagements with. We long for vindication. We long for, I'd say there's two topics. I'd say number one, that we see some kind of financial recompense for everything that we've lost. Because a lot of us have lost our peace of mind, first of all, jobs, businesses. My buddy that went in with me in the building lives in another state far away, but he lost his firearms training business where he was helping moms and dads and families and church members with safety and hunting and all the stuff with firearms. People have lost sons. Some have lost their own lives, so they're gone. And then some have lost spouses and homes and had to sell homes to raise money. It's insanity. It's absolutely brutal. But so that's the kind of the financial recompense. They are working on that, and if I had more info, I would share it. But I just really don't have much. That moves slowly too, and they're working on something called a federal tort claim, which is calculated based on a bunch of, I guess you could call it an algorithm or a chart of what you went through, how long you were there. Mine's a little bit on the higher end of how hard it was, except it wasn't as long as some of the guys that stayed in 3 or 4 years, or girls. The other side of the coin with us J6ers is that we want to see the world proven with evidence, the narrative that you called a narrative and you called it false, really come to light, because it absolutely is. It's true. And um, so that's kind of what we long for. And I think that would make a lot of difference when that comes out. I do believe that is happening in a progressive realization, and it will fully happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% am for financial recompense for what happened uh, to you guys and gals. I mean, people like myself and my husband who lived in fear of every day getting a knock on the door. I mean, we did. We had our neighbors and our friends we had to give instruction that if they come for us, is a very real possibility if they come for us, because it was a very real possibility that we lived with
Yeah,
every
yeah.
day, that this was something, we didn't do anything wrong. That's the people's house.
I believe you.
It's the people's house, and we have every right to be there. We didn't do anything wrong, but they weaponized the judicial system. They weaponized justice.
Big
And
time.
so, um, if this happens, I mean, the fact, I mean, I was at conferences with people like Trennis Evans, and
Yep.
and Trennis was like, great, we've been triangulated together, so you better be ready for that knock at your door now that you've been with me. And I was like, oh great.
Yeah. Thanks
Okay,
a
well,
lot.
awesome, that's great.
And you had to live with that for a long time, so that's not easy either.
Right. I mean, and that's just part of, and the reason that we were there was because, like you said, when this podcast began, was that by doing just rubbing our brain cells together, you could see that the election was not fair. The
Of course.
election was not done correctly. And just by simple math, the amount of votes that came in didn't match up with the amount of voter on the registration rolls. And so
Yeah.
just that's a simple math equation. And so that didn't match.
Well,
And
yeah, when
so,
it comes to a
you know,
crime like that, it's far harder for someone, and they do it anyway, but it's far harder for someone to say, nope, I can speak for all 350, however many million Americans. Not one fraud happened. No, there's no, so you know that no fraud happened in the whole entire nation from your little town. Okay, got it. It's much easier
right.
for us on the other side to say, oh, there are instances of fraud where people have been arrested in the last 4 years. Of course, no one wants to read or pay attention to that. But so if there's been a couple of if there's been just one fraudulent vote, then that denied one other person a vote. We should investigate to see, could that exist in other counties? What a concept. Could that exist in different states? Could it be
Well,
in
and
every state?
we were at the time living in Portland, Oregon. And so in Oregon, I mean, it was just clear all over the state, because the entire state is mail-in ballots. And it was, just the entirety of the voting system. And then when 2020 happened, with this trajectory of Trump winning, and then all of a sudden this blackout, we go to sleep and we wake up, and whoosh, all of a sudden there's this suitcases of ballots that show up, and they're all
Exactly.
for, I mean,
Exactly.
you're peeing on my leg and telling me it's raining, and then when I'm saying it's not raining, you're peeing, I can see you peeing on me, and then
Exactly.
you're telling me, no, it's raining, and you're a fool, how dare you tell me that? Like, what is going wrong? This world has gone mad. This world has
Exactly.
gone mad. It's just absolutely asinine. And so then my husband and I get on a plane, and we fly to Washington, D.C. to stand up for the other fools who are buying the fake narrative. I was standing up for you. I was standing up for the other people who, A, were too afraid to stand up, or the other people who were buying the false narrative, because a lot of people were, after 2020, either so brainwashed by the $1 billion of propaganda that they had put out there, and
Exactly.
brainwashed people so severely, or people were so browbeaten and so exhausted by the constant rhetoric that people just were so already so exhausted that they couldn't stand up and fight. And so people like you and people like me and people like my husband were so fired up by this point. Either you got fired up or you were so burnt out. That's how it was at the end of 2020. So
Yep.
January of 2021, when it came to January 6th, either you were totally brainwashed, you were fired up, or you were burnt out.
Mm,
And so those of us who were fired up, we got on a plane and we stood up and we said, no, you will not steal our voice. However it
exactly.
goes, whatever the real truth is, whether it really is for Trump or whether it really is for Biden, don't steal our voice. That's not what this country is about. And so, Mike Pence,
Exactly.
do the right thing. And that's what we stood outside and we said, Mike Pence, remember your oath. That's what we chanted outside, remember your oath.
Exactly.
And and then to have the news lie and these politicians lie, and you said, well, do you regret being there? The more that it became a lie, and the more that it became a thing, and the more people that were angry with us, and the more that people fought back at us, even in our own family, and it became a shameful thing that you were there, the more that my husband and I every day said, I am so grateful and I am so proud that we went. I
Exactly.
I am so grateful that we went. And it is. I'm so grateful and so proud that we were there. I'm so proud that you
Exactly.
were there. I'm just so sorry that the damage was done, and the fear and the horrible things. And so I do want to mention before, as we get to the really hard part of your story, and I want you to get to the hard part, and maybe not all of the details. We'll just get to the part of the time that you spent in prison. But I do want to pop up here, you guys. Brad has a book. It's called, go ahead and talk about your book. I've got it up on the screen here.
Sure. I appreciate you even sharing it. It's called Valor, Uncommon Courage in a Pit. First book I've written, maybe first of others possibly at this point, but never in a million years did I think I'm going to write a book. But that's what God said do, and get the story out and share it. I'm sorry the camera's kind of moving here. I got to get the cord out of the bag and plug in the computer so it can keep the phone full. But yeah, it's really a tale of all the details of what this kind of went through, but getting really granular about all of it. I mean, there's journal entries in there. There's other stories that are unrelated to mine that kind of just build hope and courage, and then it kind of wraps up at the end with kind of I guess, a call to action to like take courage in your own life, but especially for people who are going through whatever pit they might find themselves in this lifetime. Because I'm well aware that a lot of people around the planet, especially overseas, I guess, that I saw when I was young, go through adversity. So mine is not the only adversity, but I felt like God just kind of impressed upon me to write to people that it will help them draw courage from deep within their spirit. And there is a reservoir there that you can tap into, and it's especially if you're a born again believer, to have valor, have courage. I mean, they're kind of one and the same essentially, but in whatever it is you're going through, whether that's a cancer diagnosis or you lost someone or something unspeakable or a accident that's left you traumatized or hurt, whatever other thing, any kind of loss, you can get through that thing. And I don't always know, other than the simple answer is God and Jesus, but I don't even know myself. Sometimes people ask me this, how did you even get through that? A buddy just said 3 days ago, he's like, Brad, he's an Indian guy that I made friends with at the gym, and he seems to kind of have an understanding of Jesus. I don't know quite yet if he's born again, but anyway, he said, "Man, with what you went through, I couldn't be resilient like you were in there. I couldn't survive that." And I didn't even give him a ton of details, but he just kind of picked up on it. And I said, "Well, Bala, I don't really know how I did either, other than just the power of God and His goodness. I don't know how I got through it myself." Because I totally get what you're saying. And there's times where you tap into something, you tap into the power of God in a way, just like we talked about the three in the fire and Jesus being the fourth man in there, where you don't understand how you're going to get through this. And sadly, when I get to the part in a second about jail, I'll talk about that. But I just tried to write this and put down the truth, write the narrative, share what I endured, and then along the whole way in the book, find ways to have breaks because it's so emotional. The story in there and the story I've lived for 4 years is so emotional. And it didn't even end when I got out. I mean, it just went on for 4 years essentially with lawfare, but it cost me so much in so many different types of ways, not just money alone. But there's hope in the book. I'm a hopeful type. I'm positive. I'm faith filled, obviously, and I want people to draw um, conclusions about things that we go through and things that suck and they're hellish, and some are way worse than others, obviously. But it should not only give you perspective to kind of minimize things that need to be minimized and to be bold and courageous to do the right thing no matter what. I mean, that's part of what to me bravery is it's not that you don't have fear. I don't believe for a second that David had no fear. That's it's like telling me you're not even human. I don't buy that. But I think maybe he was trembling, maybe he looked up at this Goliath that's way bigger, double his height or something, and through his fear, he's like, I'm going to be bold and trust my God and have faith. I mean, that's what the Bible constantly gives examples on, right? And he won. And so to me, that's what courage or valor or bravery really come down to is, yeah, we're all freaking scared. I was shaking in there. I mean, I'm not even a fearful type. I'm a pretty tough dude. I mean, I'm solid. I'm 6'3", 230. Like, I knew how to fight, how to shoot, all this, that, and the other. But in jail, I was so broken. I felt like I was pulverized to powder, essentially. And that was even a process of a deep work that's been happening in me that was starting. But I wasn't there to fight or be tough or whatever. I was coming apart. I was just falling apart. And somehow the Holy Spirit had a plan and he kept me alive through all of it. Hopefully I can get into a couple details of that here in a second with everybody. But yeah, thanks for promoting that. The link is thevalorbook.com. And I'll sign them, I'll write in them, I'll send them out to you. When you order it, it'll tell me, your name and address, and I'll send it to you.
Thevalorbook.com. Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. So get into the details. Let's hear about what happened. You were arrested. How were you arrested? And then what happened?
Okay, let me throw this in the wall and I'll come right back here. Hold on one second.
All right.
Okay, I think we're good. All right, so a lot of people were getting raided. I get a phone call in Texas around the time of that big freeze, the crazy, insane freeze of
Yeah.
2021 in February.
Yeah.
I get a call from my Marine buddy Andrew, and he's like, "Man, I'm starting to deal with some spiritual fear. Folks are starting to rat me out, and they're kind of threatened. These are haters trying to shut down my firearms business." So we prayed over the phone. I wasn't particularly worried, and then I catch wind of some other folks had been nabbed at different restaurants throughout around the country, just randomly grabbed by the FBI. And so I'm hearing more of this stuff, and I pray with a counselor, the girl I'm seeing. We kind of like wanted to do business with the Lord to make sure there's nothing the enemy had, and like just clear anything that needed to be cleared through prayer, and just humbling ourselves before Him. And the relationship starts kind of revealing some other things unrelated completely to J6, I believe. So I end up seeking the Lord, and this for weeks, and so it comes into February, into March. I move home around the 10th or 12th or whatever. And then within about a week or two, I get a text from our Texas pastor, and he said they raided her house this morning, and they picked her up. All these SUVs, black unmarked, FBI, SWAT gear, raided her, and they took her, I think, to San Antonio, presumably for the day or two. And then that was kind of it for her. It was sort of a quick kind of situation, kind of odd, but mine was a whole different thing. So I'm back home in Charlotte. I get a call and text, and it's the FBI, and they're reaching out to make contact, try to figure out where I am, and they couldn't locate me. They didn't have a home because I didn't like purchase a home when I came back here or whatever. So they can't seem to locate me, and so they start with the narrative that I'm evading them and all this, that, and the other. And so we arrange a date, April 12th, to turn myself in, and that's what I did. I went down to the federal courthouse in Charlotte and walk up to an agent and another guy. I don't know if they were both FBI agents. They take me inside. We go through security and go up, and I'm being searched by this Marine. And I'm thinking, okay, they're going to present the paperwork and everything, and we'll find out exactly what the situation is. And you have due process because you're an American, and you go to court. This will drag out over months or whatever, right? Looked like it just flipped me sideways. I'm like, left my side. And what's crazy is what happened next. Just the nightmare essentially kicked off for the whole year
Yeah.
of
You're
2021.
sideways.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I kicked you sideways.
It is something that happened in the program. Maybe it's nothing I did, right?
No, I think maybe
So
your phone kicked you sideways.
should I try to flip into
There you
ovens?
go. You got it. You're back.
Let's try this one more because I need to
There you
keep
go.
it. That's
You
so
got it.
crazy. Okay,
You're back.
so I'm being searched by a Marine who's a U.S. Marshal. I wait in this like holding tank with all these criminals. We're in shackles, hands, ankles, waist, or wrist, ankles, waist. Go before a judge, have a bond hearing to get out, get denied, and get carted over in a paddy wagon, a metal fan truck thing, all tightly packed in there. Starting to get really not fun at this point. A little bit of water, no lunch, no breakfast, no dinner, nothing, whatever that I remember. And then I stayed in Charlotte 4 more nights, came over and had another bond hearing, had a federal public defender that the attorney I had Googled in the DC area to kind of represent me in this case said, "Hey, just use the federal attorney there, and then we'll handle the case when you have a court case in DC." Like, all right, that sounds like super simple, way oversimplified. He ended up not even like meeting with me in the chambers to kind of get a game plan. He just shows up in the courtroom and leans over. So we're now like 4 or 5 days in now, late in the week, because we started on a Monday. We're now at like Thursday or Friday. And he whispers, "You need to make a decision whether to try to get bond here out of Charlotte or get bond out of DC. You don't have good odds here in Charlotte. You could wait for months or years until trial." he said, you should consider maybe going to DC, and then maybe you have a chance to bond out. I'm thinking that's like a terrible idea. I don't want to go there. It sounds awful. My family's here. And I was thinking, DC's so far away, and it's not but 5 or 6 hours, but it just seemed like might as well have been on the moon in that moment. And so I'm having to make this decision. I have no idea what kind of decisions to make. I'm not in a state where I can make like wonderful life decisions. They're all brutal and hellacious. But I said, okay, DC. So the judge like transfer to DC. And so then I end up staying about 12 days total in Charlotte. And you're pretty much on 23 and one COVID lockdown. And this was when I start having nightmares real bad. And I'm imagining the worst case scenario of everything, happening, and that I'm going to die there, and that, the workers aren't going to come into work because the world's going to fall apart and they're not going to show up. And we're the last people anybody would give a crap about in there. And so that started to get really brutal. Never in the whole summer, I'll tell you the other facilities I was in, 3 total, did I ever remember eating any meat, any greens. Everything was soy, tofu patties, porridge, just horrendous. I can't even describe it. A lot of guys lived off of Doritos and Oreos that they would buy in the commissary, and I didn't have much commissary, nor did I care. I mean, it's like I didn't even have the will almost to eat at some points. It's like just whatever. I'm done. Whatever. And it got so bad at times, like touched on earlier, I was asking God to just remove me from the earth, like just take me out. It's as crazy as that sounds. That's how despairing I was. And I'm not really one to get that low ever in life. I've never really been that low until then, that's for sure. So they're ramming the COVID thing in your nose, trying to figure it out if you can travel and fly. Because, I'm expecting a trip to like they're going to move me to DC, and I get out. And so 12 days in Charlotte led to a DOJ flight that, a van ride, shackled again and all that. And I'm around all kinds of people. I mean, you're talking serious, serious criminals. Just you're riding with federal inmates. Some of the ones in Charlotte I was around on the day to day weren't as serious probably as what started to happen as this escalated in the process. But ride in a van, go up to Raleigh, get on a flight, touchdown in Atlanta, pick up, let out prisoner, whatever, swap. You're standing on the tarmac. I mean, it's the first time you see the sun. It's only happened once or twice the whole entire summer to be able to even see sunlight at all, period. It was so bizarre. And I just like looked up at it on the tarmac, shackled, just trying to like take it in. End up landing in Oklahoma City, of all places. And I'm like, why in the H are we here? This is so random. And go to Grady County Jail, get out of my street clothes, back into another jumpsuit there in orange again. And now you're in this pod of 30 guys. So Charlotte kind of went from lockdown in your own cell where you're like isolated to like now you're around a bunch of characters navigating all sorts of attitudes and situations and demons. And I'm being literal, like plenty of demon possessed people. I mean, there's demon possessed people walking around free out here. There's way more in jail. That's kind of common sense maybe. But it's where it started to get bad. I started to see assaults. I started seeing guys get into terrible scuffles, guys smoking drugs that they're making somehow, some way, using the microwave and a little piece of tinfoil or something they can find. Um, Despicable, disgusting conditions, food. Every night was a piece of bologna. It's not like bologna you'd buy at the grocery store at HEB or Harris Teeter or something, but just this peppered, dotted black bologna and a pack of mustard. And that's it. No side, no veggie, no fruit, no drink, no nothing else. That's just it. And never really sleeping. Like the lights don't fully go out. You're exhausted all the time. The sounds and the clanging kind of started up here. Some of us guys ended up going through some serious isolation and torture over time. I'm not going to get crazy into detail tonight because I just don't feel like I should at this moment, but kind of we'll touch on it. But I don't know if you've ever gotten to a place where you're just not getting sleep, your body's worn out, you're getting no nutrition, you're incredibly terrified of what's going on and what's around you. You're hopeless. I mean, it's just every layer of things you can even imagine. And then you're hearing sounds and clanging and torture, and they're spraying some guys. One guy lost an eye while he was in there because of that. I was not sprayed, but a lot of other things with sound and keeping you up, and random checks and random harassment and racism. And I mean, I don't mean from the inmates at all, actually, hardly. I mean, almost never. It was the guards, that I'm referring to. But it progressively changed in some ways, the racism thing, as we progressed from Charlotte to Oklahoma City to Virginia, thank goodness. But Doesn't mean the overall conditions were any better or whatever. And nightmares getting worse. I'm just a wreck. Like I'm falling apart. I'm begging to have medical help, see a doctor or something. And never the whole summer. I was there the summer of 2021 for months. Never once did I have a visit or see anyone medical, get checked, physical, nothing, zero, zilch. Never had more toothpaste than the little clear tiny thing. I remember that in Virginia, the third place I was in. Wore the same jumpsuit that was blue. It was a onesie in Virginia for 30 days ish, and never once had it laundered or had a secondary one. They're like, oh, we're running low. We can't give you another one. So I ended up with this terrible back rash for a while that I didn't quite fully realize until I saw a mirror for the first time. From that, had parasites, got really, really sick. But the psychological and spiritual war was way worse than the physical for me. And then the physical was bad, but it was on another level. It was like you toured hell and you can't seem to get out, and it's not it's not spiritual or a dream. This is real, because it was obviously it was like real life. So that's just heavy, heavy, heavy. Saw a guy fall and die, saw a lot of bizarre things go on, saw a molester get released and go home, a young mid-20s redheaded molester guy, or a, I guess you call him a sexual predator. As soon as I walked in that third facility in Virginia, I spotted this dude because he was kind of near the door and must have looked over at all of us showing up from a flight and a bus ride there from Oklahoma City to Virginia through PA. Excuse me. And I just immediately looked at him and I saw his eyes and I was like, that's a sexual predator. And it's sure enough exactly what he was. And so you're navigating these kind of things. You're like, I'm around these kind of people and I'm not this at all. I don't have a background where I've hurt people or domestics or assaults or theft or whatever. Not to mention drug running, murder, and all the other things there, and predatory stuff. And so it's like, why the hell am I here? Sorry, but
Right. Right.
why am I a patriot and a born again believer and a former missionary who tries to be honorable to other people, which is how I was definitely raised here in Central North Carolina? Why am I here? Like, what is going on? And the confusion and the hopelessness went to another level. It's just insanity. So yeah, that lasted the whole summer. I finally met some other J6ers at that third facility that came in. A few of them came in on the same bus ride I did, so presumably, had been traveling from somewhere, maybe with me, possibly. And so we ended up in the same pod. Now we're in a pod of like 80 in Virginia. It's called Northern Neck Regional Jail, and start getting to know them a little bit. And so that gave a tiny bit of like camaraderie, I guess you might would say. We kind of stuck together and ate together and stuff. And I just finally, midsummer, I got word through a buddy that there might be a hearing. I didn't even get to go to my own hearing. I don't know if there were maybe four of those that they never even took the decency or the time to take me to my own hearing. I mean, you miss your own hearing out here, you're going to jail for failure to appear. In there, it's like, oh, who gives a crap? But this one was a good one, and it was on a Friday, and they said on Monday, my buddy said on Monday, you might get released. It's looking like you had a favorable decision from via your attorney to this Judge Boasberg. And that's what happened. I got out on a Monday, and my sister drove up there and picked me up, and they call your name, and they're like, grab your stuff. Not that you really have much stuff, but head to the front, and they walk you up to the front. I think you're still shackled and stuff, but you get in your regular clothes. They kind of book you out, and then she arrives 5 hours later, and we go to Cracker Barrel and eat. And I'm just falling apart. I can't think straight. I don't really know how to communicate. I don't. I mean, all I know is to hug her and just ride and eat food. I know how to do that, but I ate so much. I ate half of hers, all of mine. She was like, "I'm full. Do you want the rest of it?" Absolutely, I want the rest of it. And then get
This
on
is
an
the
ankle.
this is in the United States of America. This is this
It's
isn't some
it's
third world
crazy.
country. This is in the United States of America, and this is like not even this is for standing up for our Constitution. This is we have a question, Brad. How do you deal with those people who minimize what happened to you?
I don't think there's a lot of folks, if any, who have done it to my face. I'm not sure how I would handle that. I would try everything in my power not to put them on the ground, but I have to understand that they're deceived, they're brainwashed, and I don't think it's happened, but I'm aware of it obviously out there, not to my face. There's plenty of those, and they're just they're deceived by the enemy. This is very much spiritual. I don't even want to make it even political. It's certainly the
Yeah,
TV's played a role, but their minds have been warped by teachings and narratives on purpose,
yeah,
and they're not in tune with their truest empathy. They're not in tune with the compassion for other human beings. And this goes for tons of topics, not just J6, no doubt about it. Like a girl stabbed on the train in Charlotte here, or a death, or an act of violence. Like some people just are just so callous to like the value of life. So who's going to give a crap about a random white patriot guy or whatever? You know what I mean? As you called it
Right.
earlier. And so I don't really take much thought of it. I'm kind of beyond even worrying about that. And I'll tell you, because I was hurting so bad when I was in there, and even when I got out for months and months and months, just to let God restore me, I didn't have the space to really think or worry or concern myself with a lot of other things. And that's a big one. I just never bothered with it. I was just trying to figure out, how am I even going to get through a day? How am I even going to like function? How, when I got off the ankle thing, how am I even going to go to the grocery store and like not be mocked or have a scarlet letter, on my shirt or whatever, marking me as some kind of terrible, insurrectionist. And thank God I'm from a really conservative county in the central of our state, kind of like areas where you're at, maybe in part, but like people have been just so insanely supportive, praise God. And people, I've been watching, engaging, and discerning like the kind of degree that I believe people are waking up from all sorts of color, background, job, whatever age. Folks are waking up everywhere. It's really cool. And so that's been amazing to watch.
And what are you doing for your own healing now?
I'll tell you what, after all of that, I couldn't and really didn't work for a while. I couldn't even leave the basement that I was in. They said that you're not allowed to open the door and step out in the grass even. And that was 95 days. So that went into the fall of 21. And when I was able to start going outside, I did that, and that made a huge difference. I wrote some of, in my opinion, this has not even gone to the masses yet, but I've got a vision for a company for men. Maybe we can close with that in a little while or whatever. But
Mhm.
I started writing content and articles and just putting it all down, typing it, writing it, whatever, while I was on the ankle monitor and couldn't go outside. That really healed me in ways I didn't know till later. It's almost been coming in waves of realization. But honestly, the sunshine and walking, I mean, I love tracking your steps and looking at your iPhone and seeing like, did I get 5,000 today, 10,000 or 2,000 or what? And so that's that October, November, maybe time frame. I started racking them up, and that really helped a lot. Started going to specialists once I could get out and drive again, get back to church. Um, Working out has radically changed my life. I'm not a gym rat, but I just go very consistently, and it's given me such I don't know, such vitality and sleeping better and stuff. And it took time. It took months for the nightmares to go away and sounds. And I don't think I'll ever really be the same. I can tell that I don't have an appetite or tolerance for a bunch of sirens or a bunch of screaming or a bunch of obnoxiousness. And most of my life, I was Mr. like go to everything, extrovert, like stuff happening all the time around me, rocking out the music loud in the car. And I've just radically changed. Like God's done this huge thing in me where I'm just not up for all that right now. I want silence most of the time. I want to hear the birds. I want to hear the trees moving. I want to connect with the simple things like that, especially outside, and I've gotten to do a ton of that stuff. But I also got with counselors and started working on my central nervous system and like dealing with what they put us through, the rest of me and the other patriots in there. And it's been a journey, man. It's almost like every week, every month, there's something new that has happened or has freed me or come off. And to watch God's faithfulness and to know that he can do anything. He's above all of it. He has a great plan, even though there's days that have been super dark, obviously. Even while I've been out, there's days months ago that were really dark. There's days a year ago that were really dark, but
Yeah.
they're usually followed by some encouragement or some awesome work site moment or some earning or some new workout or some person who comes across my path or whatever. And so I'll tell you one serendipity because it popped in my head is I used to travel to so many places in my life. I've been to dozens of countries serving and doing a bunch of hard stuff. And I never really hung out or saw my mom tons. And we always had a great bond. It's just not been our thing or whatever. And then I moved from Greensboro in the middle of the state, an hour and a half to 2 hours away down to South Charlotte in '09 with my wife at the time. And so we just saw mom and my sister and my niece, we'd have dinners, and usually the niece stole the show as she's growing up. Well, now, since this happened, every Sunday for over four, I guess maybe we're at coming up on five in next summer or something. Years I have taken her out on Sunday after church. We meet up from our separate churches that are in separate towns, and we meet in the middle, and I take her out on a lunch date, and it's just become the most incredible blessing in my life. Just absolutely amazing. And she loves it so much and sends me messages, and I have to stop and do that. It helps me kind of process sharing this stuff. It helps me remember and recollect, like, in all the pain and all the insanity that I was put through, and a lot of us were put through. There's all these beautiful moments that you have to stop and have gratitude for, and I think share them. People need to hear them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, just you're going to be forever changed. That you're going to be
That's a
forever
fact. It's a
changed. Yeah.
fact.
Yeah. Yeah. I want you to share a little bit about Man of Valor.
Oh, sure. Did
Yeah.
we miss? Did we miss any key questions, by the way?
Well, key questions are how are you able to be yourself with your family? Was it difficult coming back, being changed?
We have a very small but tight family. I don't have a ton of. I don't have 10. I don't have 8. I don't have a ton of family anymore. Um, my mom is insanely supportive and has gotten so awake about what's going on in the world. She knows who I truly am. Not in a way like I love you, period. You're some hardened criminal, but she just understands that it's all bull sticks, basically. And she has been my number one supporter by far. And I've got a lot of people who are not blood who have been absolutely like family. I mean, just insane loyal friendships and folks who have gone far beyond the call of duty to just reach out, check on me, help me. There's some dark days I went through even after, getting out and all that, where people were just there for me. And somehow God's even pulled me out of those. But my sister, her husband, my niece have been great. They are not as vocal about things in politics as much as my mom is or whatever, but still very supportive about all of it. And like I said, tons of friends. I mean, amazing circles of believers and kingdom people that have just been by my side. And God has prophetically sent people to come and say things and speak things into me. And it's been incredible. I'm very thankful for all that.
So we do have a couple of questions that came in from Facebook that are not coming in through the main chat.
Hmm.
Are you up for a few more questions? Or are you
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
getting
I
tired?
got plenty of
Okay.
time. Yeah. I am
Okay.
here for you and your people.
All right. Here, this is some biggies. So get ready. Do you still trust Patel and Bongino?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I don't think anymore in terms of, hey, Brad, do you think he's good or he's bad? She's good or she's bad? Is Elon good or bad? I used to be that way because I'm very black and white, and a lot of guys are. I don't know if that was a guy or a girl question. I would think a girl question, but was that a guy or a girl?
It was a girl.
I thought
Hmm.
I thought maybe so, but for whatever reason, and I don't mean that in any kind of weird way, but
Uh huh. But
um,
she's a patriot. Uh huh.
oh, I'm sure of it.
She's a
I
pretty
don't
strong
think
patriot.
anymore in terms of.
She's a very strong patriot, and it's someone that you know.
Okay, awesome. I don't think anymore in terms of good or bad. I am pretty frustrated, like most people are, with cash. And some of these things are unrelated to my situation, obviously. Like trying to tell us that a 22-year-old committed that murder in Utah and would text and use language that a 49-year-old would use to his furry missing boyfriend that's gone or whatever. It's just completely preposterous. I don't know anyone who's like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. And if you do, you should probably learn to ask better, harder questions about things that are told to you. But I don't buy that. I'm very frustrated with Cash about that. I've always been a big Cash fan, long before him being on the national scene like this in this capacity since January in the administration. I knew a lot of things that he did that were great before.
Brad, can you move
Uh,
your screen just a little bit? We can't see your eyes on the screen. There we go.
oh
Perfect.
man, it's kind of
There
like
you go.
tipping or whatever.
There you go. Perfect. Got it. Good.
Is
We're
that
good.
good?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. And
No, no, no
so I've
problem.
I've got my frustrations, but I don't tend to put much thought into them lately. I'm not in a phase personally, and this might sound odd to some people, but where I'm really that concerned about certain folks. I'm kind of walking out my journey still, and I'm aware, but I'm not like nearly as taking the deep dives and rabbit holes that I did for 20 years. I mean, I dove deep on a lot of topics. I could talk for 24 hours on here probably about some of the things that I dove into, and a few of them I'm probably a subject matter expert, maybe according to my buddies, like 9/11, Sandy Hook, J6. But Pam, I think, is definitely making progress and getting some things done. I don't want to open up cans, but I'll say it this way: there are things that I know for a fact are happening that are not as they appear.
Yeah.
Meaning, whatever you think. Trump's, or we think Trump's response, or Pam or Cash or whatever, to certain things, and why it doesn't go the way in our heads. Hey, it should just go like this: chop, chop, one, two, three. Just because it doesn't go that way. Number one, geopolitics are very deep. You're talking annihilating something that's been around for thousands of years that leads and runs the planet, called the deep state or the cabal or whatever. You're talking getting, I don't know, 210 nations or whatever it is, a lot of them, maybe not all of them, on board and in step. There's a lot of moving parts to it. So I don't try to sit around and act like in my armchair that I can quarterback Trump or Pam or Cash. And I'm not trying to defend them. Don't take any of this, oh, you're defending them, you're being soft on 'em. I know there's going to be cynics that see it that way, but it's not at all what I'm saying. But through military contacts, through my own discernment, through my research, through just prayer and common sense stuff, I've put together a picture of some of the things I believe in. I don't want to get into many of them here tonight. I'm happy to kind of do it one on one with folks by connecting.
Oh, I don't know if we've lost Brad. We'll see. We'll see if we've lost him. We may have lost him. I know that he had to plug in his device, and so hopefully that's just a blip and he'll be back. But anyway, what a great show. I'm so grateful that Brad, oh, he's back. He's
Was
back.
that
He's
you
back.
saying something there?
Yeah, it was me saying that you blacked out for a second. So hopefully I was saying hopefully you would be back. You back. You're back.
I'm not sure.
Are you back? Can you hear us? You're back. Can you hear me?
I'm not sure what's going on here.
Can you see us? Yes? Can you hear us? I can see you. Nope. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah. Give us
At
a
least
thumbs
it.
up if
I
you can
see a
hear.
thumbs up.
Okay. Are you on?
I'm not sure what just happened.
Well, your screen went black. Oh, now you're frozen. Okay. Yes.
Sarah,
Can you hear me?
I don't.
Okay. So I'm going to let's
It
see.
said you muted it.
All right, we've unmuted. Can you hear? We've unmuted.
It's saying you muted it.
Nope. I don't think that you can hear. Can you not hear us?
I do not know what's going on.
I don't know either.
Oh, there we
Hopefully.
go.
Oh, can you hear us now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's crazy. It said you muted it, but I'm sure you didn't.
Uh-uh.
So strange. I don't get it.
Okay, you're back.
Wow.
Maybe,
Sorry, everybody.
maybe,
That's
maybe
crazy.
it
That was
didn't like
bizarre.
us talking about Cash and Bongino.
Wow. Yeah. Like we're gonna shut him up now on that one. Yeah, that's my best. That's my best answer. Is I was gonna wrap it up by saying, like, don't put unconditional trust in any human being. Know that everyone's fallible. Everyone's trying to walk a path out. We don't know. I don't know the exact degree. I have my own opinions, but the exact degree of the faith of Trump and Pam and Cash, I just don't know. I mean, I'd like to think they're all believers and believe in God now, but we just don't know that degree of how they hear God or how they're led by the Spirit. So they're dealing with walking through a minefield. I will say it that way. It's so much more complex than any of us could ever grasp.
Yeah, that was it. It was the
Yeah.
moment of us talking about the cabal.
That was crazy. So weird.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so it's been over an hour and 20. So I think that we're going to wrap it up here, especially now that it seems like they've come in and we're gonna start being censored is probably what's happening. I think that that's what's going on.
Man
So
alive.
Yeah, it happens. It's
It
happened on
does.
multiple shows. So
It
anyway,
does.
well, Brad, thank you so much for coming on the show again. Uh, um, order Brad's book. It will help him. It will help you to know
That's
about
right.
what's really going on and what really happened during those times. While you were just living your life, real Americans were thrown into prison, and uh, lawfare was happening, and justice was not being served, and people were really harmed. And so the valorbook.com,
Yep.
that will really, really help people like Brad, help for his recovery. And I would appreciate it. Brad would appreciate it. Order his book. And
And I'll send
so,
you one soon too, by the way.
well,
I'll hook
I
you up.
would, yeah, thank you so much. I would love to read your book. And I'm really grateful that you took this time to come and uh, hang out with all of us, because it's really important to continue to talk about this. People sometimes say, well, January 6th, that was so long ago. Can't we just move on from this? No. And I say this all the time. Even Trump's last election, 2024, doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter because 2020 hasn't been fixed. 2020, if
Yep.
2020 stands, then 2024 and any election moving forward, it doesn't matter until 2020 is fixed.
That's right. Do you
It,
have a nation
yeah.
if you don't have honest and fair elections? Anywhere.
No, no, you don't.
Of
You
course
don't.
not.
And if the corruption is still up on Capitol Hill and beyond, I mean, Capitol Hill is just the puppets, but there's so much more
Yep.
behind that, and we all know.
Yep.
But all of the deep state and the creep states, the Epstein files and all the stuff that is going on, but the creep state, all of that stuff that's going on. If all of that still is in place, then what's the point? What's the point of all of it? And so,
Exactly.
until that is dealt with, we really, what's the point of cheering for, the red, white, and blue? What's the point of making America great again if it's built
Exactly.
on, a pile of trash? And so,
Exactly.
we need to clean out the swamp, not just drain it, but clean it out.
It's true. And to
And
that
so,
point of the swamp, by the way, we're wrestling with not flesh and blood, but powers and principalities and spirits. Therefore,
true
Cash,
story.
Dan, by the way, I didn't finish answering, but Dan, I probably trust the most of any of those three, but
Right.
that's a whole other thing. But he has a lot more credibility and history and experience in my mind. But those three and everyone else that are leading and that are involved and they're in office and whatever, and even pastors, heck, missionaries, are up against Ephesians 6:12 spiritual warfare, not just Muslims or gays or Democrats or whatever thing you want to say. Like it's so much deeper than that because it's the root of what you already know this, but the root of what's in them or behind them or fuels them is demonic. So we're in a heavenly demonic war, heavenly slash
Yeah.
demonic. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely. Yeah.
so
I mean,
you can't
yeah.
just solve it all only with political slogans or political things necessarily. It plays its part, but it's way deeper than all that, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, you can't solve it at all with political slogans. You can whitewash it with that, but what is going to solve it is a spirit. I mean, this is a physical manifestation of a spiritual battle.
that's
And
exactly what it is.
when you see, I mean, people look at Kash Patel, and he doesn't even look like the same person as he did. I mean, Courtney and I have talked about this. Courtney, she's the host of the Patriot Strong
Patriot
podcast, and
strong.
she and I are friends, and you're friends with Courtney as well. And she and I have known Kash Patel before he was. Uh, before he became the position, or we've been made acquaintance with Kash Patel.
Yep.
He doesn't even look like the same person. He doesn't have the same countenance at all, and I
So
can't
interesting.
imagine the things that he's seen or been introduced to, and what he's seen since he's been in the position that he's in. And the same is true with Bongino. I don't know him personally, have never met him personally, but just seeing him and hear Brad's screen has gone black, um, talking about the same things. And so, anyway, wrapping this up, it is uh, a spiritual war. And so, to wrap up the podcast, that's I think where we'll wrap it up, since it seems like this is where we keep uh, we
That's bizarre. I don't think that's some kind of plot. That's just my phone not rejecting calls when it's on not only do not disturb but on silent. It's so bizarre to me. It's so bizarre to me.
yeah,
But I agreed with
but
what you were saying.
yeah,
All that you were saying was right. It was good.
yeah. Well, so I think we'll just wrap it up here, because that's just the bottom line of all of this, is that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and
Yes,
principalities
yes.
in dark places that are, I mean, we see this. And um, uh, I talked about this before, and I'll talk about it this again. One of the most powerful things when I was at Charlie Kirk's memorial service was when Chris Tomlin was playing when he was singing his song, "All thrones and dominions, all powers and positions, your
Exactly.
name stands above them all." In
Exactly.
right in front of us was filing in all the heads of state, was filing in Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, and Kash Patel, while this song is being sung over them, while these people do hold all the thrones and dominions and power and position, but Jesus's name stands above it all. And we know that to be true. And we know that even in the midst of all of this bananas world that we live in, all of this craziness, Jesus's name stands above it all.
Yes. Praise the Lord. Exactly.
So, yeah.
And he
Oh,
shall.
yeah.
And if
Yeah.
anybody that's commenting, I know this is the roughest broadcast ever. If there's anything else you want to connect or talk on, you can find me on X, Man of Valor US, Man of Valor US on X, and on other platforms, same thing. Or you can email me, info@valorventureshq.com. And I'm happy to be friends, answer questions, be a blessing, whatever that can look like, encourage you. I'll do my best to do that.
I
This has
love it.
been amazing. Other than the
Yeah.
tech things, I'm so sorry if I did any of it. I don't know what I could have done
That's
different, but
it's so crazy, but you know what? It happens anytime. There's always some kind of cabal
my
talk.
heavens.
Man, things always go haywire. But I'm glad you're back, and it's just how it is. So we just have to roll with it. We're working in a cabal system, so
Oh
that's
yeah,
just what
that's right.
happened.
We're in
We
the
got
world, not of it. We gotta just roll with it.
that's
You're so
right.
good at rolling with it. I love how you rolled with it.
Hey, we're in the matrix, but we got
I need an exit. Morpheus, call me.
That's right. That's right. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. And you guys, as always, Jesus is the remedy. Be in the Word of God. And
Yes,
if you don't know Jesus, today is the day of salvation.
yes,
Cry
yes.
out to Him, Jesus. He is. Just cry out to Him. Jesus is the name above it all. And
Mhm.
so, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys. Peace.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Sarah.